From your fryer to the table, it's a quick trip for crispy fries. But how about a crosstown delivery? McCain SureCrisp fries are designed to go from fryer to container to carrier to passenger seat across town during rush hour down a shortcut that wasn't all that short to a doorstep before they hit the table. And that first bite, the crispiness speaks for itself. To the last bite, McCain SureCrisp fries. Go the distance. See how far our fries can take your business at surecrisp.com/delivery.
Hello, and welcome to Menu Talk with Pat and Bret. I am your co-host, Bret Thorn, Senior Food and Beverage Editor of Nation's Restaurant News and Restaurant Hospitality.
And I'm Pat Cobe, Senior Menu Editor at Restaurant Business. Welcome.
How you doing, Pat?
I'm doing well. I'm actually in Atlanta, so that's why my background looks a little different today. We held our Menu Directions Conference here, which is a FoodService Director Conference. That's our non-commercial publication. And we hobnobbed with all the healthcare, K through 12, college and university chefs and food service directors. So that was really a lot of fun.
Yeah, I like those people. They're, does it sound condescending to say they're down to earth? I think they're down to earth. You know, they're very, very human.
Yeah. And they love to share ideas. So that's what makes it so much fun. So we had a really good conference and lots of ideas there that the restaurant side could steal. We heard from one chef. You know Ian Ramirez, Chef Ian Ramirez? He used to work with Gordon Food Service, but now he's an independent consultant. And he did this amazing presentation on AI and how it can help you plan menus and come up with recipe ideas, even make these amazing images, or even kind of come up with a concept. He did it like live in front of the audience, where he talked about, let's come up with a Latin concept called cayenne, and AI created this concept, and some of the dishes on the menu included paella and tacos and things like that. So the one thing he cautioned everybody about was that you really have to check AI with your human intelligence, HI, because AI makes a lot of mistakes.
It sure does. I mean, I love AI for idea generation. And I also use it. I figured out that it will skim a press release for me. So
Really?
that, I'll ask, hey, ChatGPT, does this press release tell me how long this menu item is going to be available? And ChatGPT will read it and say, no, it doesn't. Or it might actually find it hidden somewhere that I, in skimming a press release missed. So it's actually can be helpful for things like that.
So do you actually have to share the press release with the
Yeah.
chat?
Yeah, you copy it and paste it into the conversation, and it
Oh, that's so cool.
reads it for you and lets you know what's going on.
What a great tip. I'm going to try that.
Yeah, it's a good way to make sure I'm not missing anything. Not good for fact checking because sometimes it makes things up, which is
Right. Well, that's what Chef Ian said. It makes things up, and sometimes they're really out of left field. So you have to be really careful.
Well, and
So
then
that was really interesting. And then we heard from another chef, Jonathan Pye, who works with a contractor for B&I and hospitals and that kind of thing. And he did an amazing presentation on zero waste. And I mean, that's, people are trying to do that all the time, but he had some ideas that were really very creative. Like he uses coffee grounds as a rub for beets and meats. And, he combines them with spices, and I guess he pulverizes them a little to make them finer, but used coffee grounds are something that he saves and uses as a rub. So I thought that was
that's great.
fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah, I've always found I feel bad every time I throw away the coffee grounds after I make coffee because it does seem like they should be good for something.
Well, now
Apart
you know.
from composting, maybe I'll use it as a rub.
Yeah. Yeah. So the conference was really very enlightening and fun. So that's why I'm in Atlanta.
Well, that's great. Yeah, I'm still thinking of different things that I could use AI for to help in research and stuff. I mean, it's something that chefs have been using for like recipe ideation for a long time. Do you remember Watson, the IBM computer? It competed
Hmm.
on Jeopardy and stuff. ICE, the Institute of Culinary Education here in New York, used it for some menu ideation, and actually they came up with a cookbook with the help of Watson. But a couple of the chefs, Michael Lyskanis, who's the pastry chef there, and another chef
Hmm.
who escapes me at the moment. I mean, you take the idea, and then you have to figure out the measurements and figure out what works and what doesn't. And it reminded me of the TV series Futurama. Did you ever see Futurama?
Yeah.
So there was the asshole robot Bender who
Right.
wanted to become a celebrity chef. Did you see that
I don't think
series?
I saw that episode.
Yeah, well, it was a few episodes, and he decided he wanted to be a celebrity chef, but of course he's a robot, so he doesn't have a palate, and so he cooked for the crew of the spaceship, and they all spat it out and said, "This is so salty," and he said, "What? It's 10% below a lethal dose." You know, he's a robot.
Yeah.
And AI is getting a little better than that, but I think when it comes to recipe development, I don't think chefs have anything to worry about, and
No, I don't think so. They
and that's
definitely have to be involved too.
for sure. But I'm looking forward to seeing how different technology can be used as a tool. I mean, you remember when we used to have to get slides of photographs, and this was of pictures of dishes and stuff, and we had to then you know, beg to get them, and then our art directors would have to do all sorts of things with them. And now we have digital images.
Right. Things have come a long way just in our career. So
Yes,
I'm sure AI will be there for us soon.
which would be great, and also, as with all technology, figure out how to make it work for you. So while you were in Atlanta, I was here in New York. I went to an event thrown by the Mushroom Council, which promotes cultivated mushrooms in the United States, and I always find it interesting. They always repeat this, but it's still fascinating that the majority of mushrooms that we eat in the United States are all grown in the community of Kennett Square in Pennsylvania. And that's where most of the mushrooms are from, which I find so odd because mushrooms will grow anywhere. You could grow them in your basement. They don't require light. They require a little bit of moisture and, something to eat, but not much.
Yeah, it is kind of puzzling, but
Yeah, why not? Then maybe they've got it nailed down. I don't know. Although they're one of the producers who comes every year to the mushroom event is a grower from California, and there were some mushroom cocktails that were really
mm,
tasty, and mushroom tostadas, and mushroom lettuce wraps. And the what I love about mushrooms is that they taste meaty without trying to disguise themselves. They're absolutely very much mushrooms, but they have a satisfying quality, both in terms of flavor and they fill you up. Although they're not high in protein, so
no.
not a useful protein substitute. But the Mushroom Council is really pushing to make Mushroom Mondays a thing, so that you eat mushrooms on Monday. You know,
Okay.
I hate things like that. Like, don't tell me I have to eat tacos on Tuesday. I can eat tacos whenever I want. Similarly with meatless Mondays, if I don't want to eat meat, I won't eat meat. But other people I know really like routines, and if they schedule something in a certain way, it works for them.
Well,
And
I guess it could work for a restaurant promotion, and
for sure,
that's what they're getting at. But
definitely.
it was interesting because at Menu Directions, one of the vendors, we also have like a vendor fair,
Mhm.
was Mush Foods, which is kind of an unusual name for a food company, but what they do is combine mushrooms with ground beef and ground lamb and ground chicken, I think was the other one. And so it's 50-50, and they use the mycelium, the mushroom roots. And I think, that's sort of a new trend I've been seeing. People don't want, you know, pure plant-based items, but they like it when it's blended with meat. That's a way to get the protein in and cut out some of the fat.
Yeah, and if you use mushrooms, obviously they're super green and sustainable, and
Mhm.
you're not sacrificing. In fact, you are enhancing the flavor. I mean, mushrooms
Right.
and animal protein, have a lovely synergy
For sure.
where the flavor is actually boosted. So I love that stuff, and it's something that's been going on for a while. Sonic Drive-In had the Sonic Slinger. What? I don't know, close to 10 years ago now. That
Oh,
was
yeah.
a beef and mushroom blend. It
And
was
who doesn't love steak with mushrooms on top?
exactly burgers with mushrooms.
Right.
Or pizza with mushrooms, which
Oh,
also segues to the other event that I went to this week, the launch of Pizza Hut's new Chicago Tavern style pizza.
mm-hmm.
They threw it at a bar in the East Village called Mr. Paradise, I believe.
Mm,
And the owner of Mr. Paradise also has a San Diego style burrito shop. A San Diego burrito has French fries in it.
oh,
And
interesting.
it's up to 3 locations in New York. It's called Electric Burrito. And he made some really delicious cocktails that were pizza inspired. So,
Mm,
he used tomato water and had an olive oil washed gin and stuff. But well, I say they were delicious. I actually, the one flavor I don't like is raw tomato, and these
right.
were full of, like, they were bursting with raw tomatoes. So for me, they weren't really delicious, but I really respected the balance and the creativity, which is very
Hmm.
obvious. So that
I
was
hope
cool.
he didn't put any cheese in them. I think that's a
He,
no-no.
he did not, but he did garnish one with, that trendy cup and crisp pepperoni.
Uh-huh.
And so I know the pepperoni was on top. So you got that pepperoni aroma while drinking the cocktail. And I really like
Oh,
that.
interesting.
Yeah, and the tavern style pies, they're thin crust pie, and the beverage director, not the beverage director, the director who developed the items for Pizza Hut said that consumers are looking for something that's flavorful, but a bit lighter than your typical pizza, and the tavern style pies can do that. Not only because they're a thin crust, but they're typically cut into little teeny pieces, as
Right.
you know, because you
Yeah, we talked about this a few
yes.
podcasts ago. Not my favorite kind of pizza. It's like eating little canapes, but um, I guess people like it. I guess if you eat enough of them, it can make a meal, but yeah, kind of
Well,
a strange way to eat pizza, in my opinion.
as a New Yorker. Yeah, and we'll see how they do. And Pizza Hut also introduced some new ingredients. They have a new spicy marinara sauce, and they have
Mm,
a chicken sausage and a pesto sauce.
mm.
So
Oh,
kind of
that's pretty.
yeah,
Yeah, that's innovative for Pizza Hut for
yeah.
sure.
And obviously, you can put all of that stuff on whatever pizza you want, whether you want a tavern style or something
Hmm.
else. So it's been a full week.
Yeah, very.
Um, And I interviewed a chef for this podcast. His name is James Wozniak, and he uh, just opened the second location of Makan, which means eating or to eat in Malay, the language of Malaysia. He
Oh.
had opened the first location in March of 2020 in Washington, D.C., which was not good timing, but he didn't know that. And now he just opened in Charleston, South Carolina, and I asked him why. Why did you open in Charleston, James?
We looked here first and kind of settled on it pretty quickly. I grew up in Greenville, so I'm right up the street. I have a lot of friends here in the area. And then my brother and his wife are here. They just had a baby girl. She's about to turn 9 months.
Congratulations.
And yeah, my sister went to MUSC, so it's kind of just always been close to home. I grew up, I was here 13, 14 years before I left out to go to school, and it's kind of just like a pretty easy decision.
Although it's interesting because I mean he's from Greenville, which is the opposite side of the state from South Carolina, but I guess he
Hmm.
explained why he liked it there, and obviously Charleston has long been a really great restaurant city. So That makes sense.
Well, Greenville is really coming up there. I know they have that big restaurant group down there. Table,
Table 301.
yeah, Table 3. And so
Carlson.
he does a lot of different kinds of restaurants. He sort of like owns a couple of blocks with just his restaurants. So
Have you visited?
no, but he's a fascinating guy. I love talking to him.
Yeah, he's great. I have also done podcasts with him. I'm sure you have too. He's a lovely guy, and he is working on sort of divesting himself from his restaurants and having
Hmm.
other people who he's brought up take them over so that they can also have awesome careers. And
Yeah.
yeah. And Greenville's a charming city, but then I wondered why a person named James Wozniak would gravitate toward Malaysian food. It doesn't necessarily seem like a natural fit. And,
No, it's a good question.
well, thank you, Pat, and that's why I asked.
When I finally decided to try cooking as a career, I instantly knew I wanted to cook Asian cuisine. Just didn't settle on just one. Over the years it went, Chinese, regional Chinese, Vietnamese, Thai, just kind of cycling through everything. And yeah, I just happened to be in Cambodia working on a project, Makedo. And usually when I'm in Asia, I'll try to see if there's like a long layover. If I have a country that's not on the list that I need to get to, I'll choose something that has a long layover. And yeah, flying up to Vietnam, they had a 16-hour layover in Kuala Lumpur. I was always kind of curious about Malaysia because you really don't hear a lot about it or just don't see a lot about it. It's not like one of the big ones like, China, Vietnam, Thailand. And so, yeah, I just took a 16-hour layover. Didn't know what to expect. Just went into the city, just walked around, speaking with locals, like, where should I go? What should I try? And they pointed me in the direction. And I mean, that's kind of all it took. It just planted the seed.
And Kuala Lumpur is the capital of Malaysia and a cool food city. And at the time, but before James Wozniak was cooking Alsatian food.
Hmm.
Then he mentioned Makedo, which is where he was working at the time. Makedo is an interesting restaurant in DC run by Eric Bruner Yang, who is half Taiwanese and his wife is Cambodian. And so Makedo is a Taiwanese and Cambodian restaurant. Two cuisines that
Interesting.
actually are not very closely related, but I guess they made it happen, and that's how James got his professional start in Malaysian food.
Well,
And-
Malaysian food includes a lot of Chinese influences. For
right,
sure.
for sure. Chinese and Indian and Malay.
Mhm.
Anyway, I asked him to go into some details about that.
Yeah, it's difficult, a green cook with no experience applying to Asian restaurants. It wasn't didn't go well. Got a lot of no's. Actually, 100% no's. Yeah, so Johnny Spiro, he introduced me to Eric, and I just kept bugging Eric, and he just kept saying no because I mean the kitchen at Toki is tiny. It is. I mean, you can fit maybe 3 people.
Let me stop there to explain that Toki was before Makedo, and that's where James Wozniak first asked Eric Bruner Yang to cook,
Mhm.
and Eric said no. And Johnny Spiro is another great DC chef who introduced James to Eric. And now we will continue.
And it is super small. But eventually down the road, when Eric was opening Makedo, he, reached out to me and asked if I wanted to be the opening chef and, put together a menu and start it. And yeah, I definitely jumped on it.
So if you follow the timeline there, he got a job as the chef of Makedo with no background in actually professionally cooking uh, any kind of Asian food, let alone Malaysian, which is a unique and distinctive cuisine.
Pretty remarkable. He must be very convincing.
Well, yeah. Well, I asked, how'd you do that? How'd you do that, James?
Lots of cookbooks, lots of testing, lots of just anything you can imagine. Like when I would do my trips out there, it's, I have a notebook and I have a camera, and really just taking notes of all the ingredients, watching people cook, what order things go into the wok, just diagramming everything out, tasting notes on the dishes, really just as in-depth as you can think. Being super green, I don't know, it was kind of just, it was very nerve-wracking, where it's just like, this was a massive opening. I'd never cooked Asian food professionally. And so, yeah, it was a lot of nerves, but, just put in the work, had a lot of very talented people around me to help out. I have an amazing mentor in DC, Chef Sang. She has a Padek and Tip Cow. And yeah, she invited me into her kitchen, kind of took me under her wing, and any questions I would have, she would just help me out. And, she really showed me a lot.
Just goes to show what, a lot of hard work and cultivating relationships can do for you.
Yeah, for sure.
So the original Macan actually is over a sports bar called Thirsty Crow. And the restaurant, Makedo, actually also was very big on craft cocktails. So it was craft cocktails and Malaysian food, which I think is kind of unusual. But because when I eat Malaysian food and most Southeast Asian food, I like to drink beer. But, but you can.
But yeah, if it's a well-balanced cocktail and it has a lot of, citrus and flavors that complement Asian food, I could see it being really good together.
Yeah, totally. And I remember years ago, I was talking to Jean-Georges Vongerichten, obviously an expert in Thai food, although he is an Alsatian chef and would combine the two. And pairing wine with Southeast Asian food could be challenging because they weren't, unlike French and Italian food, which were created with the expectation you're going to drink wine with it.
Mm-hmm.
With those Southeast Asian foods, that wasn't the expectation. But it means with cocktails, you can make a cocktail taste like whatever you want. And that way it can balance the flavors however you want them to be balanced.
Well, there's Trader Vic's. They were kind of the pioneer in doing that.
True. Yeah. And that was the beginning of the tiki cocktail trend.
Right.
So I asked further James what he liked so much about Malaysian food and what it was like with his first trip to Kuala Lumpur.
I would walk up to a hawker stall and see the dish, order it, and I knew what to expect. I'm like, oh, that's lo mein. I kind of know what that flavor is going to be. Little did I know it was mee goreng mamak, which is a Muslim Indian noodle dish, and it basically takes a Chinese noodle. It has some Indian spices to it. It has a Malaysian sambal, and it's cooked in a wok. And so it's like, I recognize it. I know what it's going to taste like, but that first bite, it's like, no, I don't know what it's going to taste like. It was completely different than anything. And that's how a lot of the food was for me, just going, and I would recognize something. And then that first bite, it's just like, I have no idea. I'm completely wrong.
So that's fun.
Yeah. It sounds a lot better than lo mein, actually.
Yeah.
Try it.
Yeah. Well, if you go to Macan, you can do that. And I asked James about what his most popular dishes were at at Macon, and a lot of it was stuff that you would expect, like chicken satay or beef rendang, which is a sort of mild, actually Indonesian curry, but Indonesian and Malaysian cuisines are related, and stir fried noodles. But he also has gotten his customers to enjoy some more funky dishes.
Going back a long time ago, yeah, I got a Malaysian cookbook, and I was just just curious. Wasn't cooking anything. I was just like when I was just like very green cook. Yeah, I just got a Malaysian cookbook and just looking at the recipes with, I mean, it was so many. It would be like 20, 25, 30 ingredients for one dish, and I'm like, what in the? I'm like, I can't make this. Like, this is crazy. It was so many, and I was just like, I didn't even attempt it. It was, I was just like, this is madness. And now, yeah, here we are, and yeah, it is very time consuming. There are so many, we make the curry powders here. You have spice paste. So I mean, there's so many different moving parts to these recipes. But when you taste the final product, it's like, oh, okay, I get it. It did need all those 20 things.
So that was the wrong clip. And
well, it's interesting to hear. I mean, does he have any issues challenges getting these ingredients?
He does not anymore. Originally in DC, there were some challenges, and he'd get things shipped down from New York, but most of that stuff has been ironed out, so that now that it's even available in Charleston, and his guests are open to trying new things, and I will play that clip now.
One of my most favorite things is the salted duck yolk with curry leaf. It's one of my most favorite sauces. And that one, I put it on. There's a few dishes I put on for myself where it's like, I just want to see it and I want to eat it. I don't expect it to take off. And it's like, I'll put it on for a little while. I'll take it off when it's not selling. So that was one of them. It's traditional with seafood, but I put it on a fried chicken quarter that we confit. And then that's a big seller. And then also the stink bean, the pad thai. So the sambal udang pad thai is just shrimp, some spicy chilies, some like a sweet chili sambal, and the stink beans. And so that one, again, it's just like those stink beans. I mean, you like them or you don't. And I love them. We did a tasting with the front of house, and there were a couple people, and they were like, yeah, no, this isn't for me. But I mean, that's expected. And that's another thing that I love is at least you try it. You may not like it. You may not like everything, but just be open, keep an open mind, try it. Cause I mean, how do you know you don't love something? It could be your next favorite dish.
Stink beans, which probably isn't what you should call them, if you're trying to sell them to people, are an interesting thing. As I said, they're called pad thai in Malaysia. They're called satay in Thailand, and they're only eaten in southern Thailand, pretty much. And Thais from different parts of the country make fun of Southerners for eating them, but they're really cool-looking beans because they're like if you take a fava bean and then you just expand it to like prehistoric, like Paleolithic, not Paleolithic, Jurassic proportions. Just giant, huge beans, and then you peel them like they're a fava bean. They have this. They don't really stink that bad, but they tend to linger on the palate and on the breath. And but like a lot of things that are bitter and weird tasting, the more you eat them, the more you like them. And there's something that I don't know causes you to crave them for whatever reason. So
I've never had one, so I can't comment, but
not yet.
I will try them if I come across them for sure.
Well, James Wozniak is pushing the needle on having people try new things. And so if you happen to be in Charleston or in DC, you can check out Macon.
Okay.
And do you have big plans for this weekend? Anything going on?
Well, I am going to go to the Fancy Food Show on Sunday. That's coming to New York, and it's always a good adventure. You get to see a lot of new products from smaller producers, unlike the restaurant show, which is a lot of larger producers. So you can see some interesting trends there, and I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I might swing by too. We'll see. It's a certainly a big event, and there are all sorts of interesting parties around it. So that's
Mm-hmm.
a fun thing.
Yeah, so that should be fun.
I think so too. And I'm not sure what I'm doing, but whatever it is, I'll be sharing it with you and our audience next week. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
From your fryer to the table, it's a quick trip for crispy fries. But how about a crosstown delivery? McCain SureCrisp fries are designed to go from fryer to container to carrier to passenger seat across town during rush hour down a shortcut that wasn't all that short to a doorstep before they hit the table. And that first bite, the crispiness speaks for itself. To the last bite, McCain SureCrisp fries. Go the distance. See how far our fries can take your business at surecrisp.com/delivery.